Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor. Happy Wednesday. Today we're doing the full Week 2 NFL preview, news, notes, and quotes. We're going to be covering every matchup, talk a little bit about the spreads, but also talk about the matchup, the preview, expectations, some injuries. This is the full, complete show to get you guys prepared for Week 2, or any week for that matter. The Fire and Ice Show here with Tom Santinello. Tom, what's going on, man?
Oh, happy Wednesday to yourself. Happy hump day, whatever they call it.
I kind of hate Wednesdays because, I miss football. I start missing football on Wednesdays because, you have your Monday nighter and then you got Tuesday, Wednesday. You're like, it's my second day without football. Then we got Thursday. Then I hate Friday and Saturday. I look forward to Sunday. So
back in the day, it used to be worse. There was no Thursday night game, but, some Thursday night games are terrible that you don't even care. So,
right. For example, this Thursday, so let's roll right into it. Cincinnati Bengals versus the Cleveland Browns. Browns sitting here as a -6 favorite. Cleveland Browns, the favorite here after a crazy, terrible Week 1 game against Baltimore. Baker Mayfield now finally starting to get criticism. A year or two ago, he was like the god. Everyone thought that these guys would be high octane offense. Obviously, the critics are blaming Baker Mayfield for the lack of performance of Odell. I just think Odell's overrated in general. Then we talk about Burrow, his debut. He looked okay. They just lost that game. I think the kicker pulled a hamstring, or I don't know what happened. His kicker looked like crap there on the last play with the Chargers. Man, I'm not really excited about this game. I'm just excited to see, for a fantasy point of view, Kareem Hunt take over Nick Chubb and make my prediction accurate, because Kareem Hunt outperformed Nick Chubb last week in fantasy production and out-attempted him last week. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on this matchup going in, Cleveland and Cincinnati?
First of all, you need to understand Week 1's Week 1. There's always a lot of surprises Week 1, but a lot of these teams that get blown out Week 1 or don't look good, they come back Week 2 and they blow the other team out. I mean, you see it year in, year out. So you got to remember, Week 1 is Week 1. The second thing is, this year, Week 1's even worse than Week 1 because you have no preseason, you have no chemistry, you have sloppiness, you have a lot of stuff that's just not, new coach. And it's a difference between training camp practice and preseason games and actual games. So listen, this is the third coach in 3 years for the Cleveland Browns. Also, you got to look at how good were the Baltimore Ravens. Are they going to have another year where they win games by 20, 30 points, and maybe the Browns are actually a 10-6 team? Maybe like Houston is, and they just got beat bad by the best team in football last year. So there's things we don't know. I will say the Bengals played tough. I think that was the most boring game. The Bengals at the Bengals and the Chargers, and the Bengals should have won at the end. AJ Green had that, offensive pass interference at the end, which was, I guess, you got to call it, but could have went either way in my mind. Then they shanked a field goal. 20-something yarder that he shanked. So the Bengals aren't horrible. They're going to struggle, but the Bengals are going to be tough. I don't think Burrow is going to light it up, 300 yards a game, maybe later in the season, but I think they're going to be a tough team. But I think the Browns come out and they come out strong this week. I think they put, 25, 30 points on the board at home. I think Baker, the one thing I do like about him, his demeanor, his attitude, he seems to be better this year. He's not talking a lot. He's not, I know you still see him on a few commercials. We got those deals a couple of years ago, but I don't know. I think this is going to be a Cleveland Browns week.
Well, they got the offensive weapons. And then you've got the rookie Burrow. I don't think he's got the experience, and they're on the road. So all signs are pointing to a Cleveland win here. Cleveland just got to get it together. I'm not fully sold. I think they've got a great running back committee there. And I think since, what's his name? Nick Chubb fumbled, Kareem Hunt kind of came in and started taking the reins there. So I don't know, man. I'm not sold on Nick Chubb from a fantasy perspective based on where he was drafted, which was end of first, early second. Very expensive capital, Tom.
He's good. He's a good running back. No doubt about it. But the problem is they have a lot of weapons. And I think when they got into issues, and they even said it during the game, you've seen it, they tried to force the ball to Odell. When you have a lot of weapons, you're going to have players. Look at the Chiefs. I can name, dozens, not dozens, a lot of teams. When you have a lot of weapons, you're going to have some stars that maybe get 1 or 2 catches that week. But you can't, and it seemed like Baker tried to force the ball at times, and also the play calling was tried to force to get Odell involved. It's not like he's LeBron James, Michael Jordan, where you need him to take over a game. You can't with the wide receiver position. Sometimes it's best being a decoy as a wide receiver, clearing up half the field. And that's inexperience from the coaching. As his first year head coach, and you just can't force the ball to players. But you are going, what's it? The other tight end, David, what's his name? The kid out of Miami, David Njoku. He got the first touchdown, right? You're going to have games where he might get 2 touchdowns. You're going to have games where, maybe Baker rushes it in for 2. Maybe Kareem Hunt gets 3 rushing touchdowns. That's what you're going to get from this team all year long. The one consistency I think you will get is Jarvis Landry. Now, what do you have, like 5 for 61 last week or something?
Jarvis Landry's always consistent. He's always has been. Always
never great, always consistent. He might have a couple great games, but he's a good, solid possession receiver. That's what he is. And I think the Browns come out strong this week. I really do. But I like Joe Burrow. I think he's going to be a good player in this league. He's got the leadership. I like him a lot better than Baker. I think give him another year or 2, but he looked impressive to me in his debut.
Yeah, Landry had 6 targets, 5 receptions, 61 yards. Nothing special. Didn't get a touchdown or anything, but he is a primary target guy with Baker Mayfield. All right, let's move on to the 1:00 games here. This is an interesting game. I'm actually going to be watching.
Who are you taking? You taking Cleveland?
I don't know. I'm not sold on this one. I'm not going to bet on this one. But you know what? I think Cincy could cover this. I think
it's going to watch it. I mean, it's a horrible game.
I'm going to watch it because there's nothing else on. I mean, I'm going to watch it. It's Thursday night. There's nothing else on. I want football.
Celtics Heat game 2.
I'm not into basketball. I haven't been following that, but I heard who got eliminated. Did the Clippers get eliminated?
Yeah, the Celtics Heat game was overtime. It was a good game.
I don't want to get into basketball too much. Was Kawhi and the Clippers not trying? They're getting ridiculed for not putting effort. Did you watch that game?
I don't really care. I don't think it's effort. I think they just dropped a bomb. I think they just didn't play well.
Yeah, I heard they got criticized. Okay, let's move on here to Sunday games. Carolina, Tampa. I'm going to be watching this game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 8.5-point favorite. I don't understand that. I mean, does Vegas know something that we don't know? They came off their loss to the Saints, and it was a pretty big loss, 34-23. It wasn't even a close game, really. And now they're at home, and they're favored heavily against the Panthers. And the Panthers had a decent game week 1. I mean, I can't say it was a terrible game. They kept it a little closer with the Vegas Raiders. Now, the thing is, they ran all over them. That's the thing. Vegas ran all over Carolina's defense. So I can imagine Rojo having a good game from a fantasy perspective. By the way, we do our starts and sits on Thursday, guys. This is more of a preview for reality. So very, very important, guys. That starts and sits is tomorrow with Tim, the bald guy, the other bald guy. So in regards to this one, man, I mean, I don't know what to expect. Is Tom Brady going to get in the groove? I think so. I think they needed that first week to get everything out of their system, feel each other out. There was no preseason. This year, obviously, the Bucs, I think, will have a good game. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think Tampa Bay played better than the score indicated. That, it's part of the game, so I hate to always say this, but, the pick 6 really killed them that Brady threw. They came right back down. They scored a touchdown on the drive after that. Mike Evans was not 100%. He had a really nice play where he drew pass interference on a deep ball, but he wasn't 100%. I don't like Ronald Jones. I mean, I think if Fournette can be what he was last year, he just doesn't know the playbook yet, probably, and he just needs a little time. I think they need to get a consistent running game going with somebody better than Ronald Jones, and hopefully that's Leonard Fournette. It's definitely not LaShawn McCoy, and I think that's what they need. But I like Brady. He had his eye on Godwin a lot. I think he wanted to throw the ball to Evans, but Evans was not 100%. That kind of scares me. I hope he's better this week. I think they're just, New Orleans, that could have been the toughest game that they played all year, Tampa Bay, at New Orleans week 1. I still think Tampa Bay is a playoff team, and they're a really good team, and they probably beat New Orleans at home later in the season. Carolina, one of the worst defenses in the NFL. I don't like the coach, questionable call on, I think he gave it to the fullback one time instead of McCaffrey. The coach is a leader. He's not an X's and O's guy. I don't like that style of coaching. Sometimes it works. A lot of times it doesn't, especially coming from the college ranks. It does not work. McCaffrey had a, good week. He threw the ball, spread it around. They're going to throw the ball. They're going to put up some points and some yards because they're going to be behind a lot. They're not a good football team in Carolina, but they will put up some plays and some points.
Is Robbie Anderson going to stay consistent? Is he going to be the number 1 there? It looks like from game 1, he is the number 1 receiver there.
He's not the number 1. DJ Moore's the number 1. Now, could he take it over and become Bridgewater's favorite target? I guess so. He had that nice 75-yard play, and that's what he's known for, those one big plays and he'll have like a good game every few weeks. So like I said, not only is it at week 1, it's, remember last year, Marquise Brown for the Ravens had 150 yards week 1?
Right.
Never had a 100-yard game the rest of the season, I don't think. So Robbie Anderson is a streak player. He's going to have those 150-yard games, and he's going to have 2 catches for 10 yards. But is this the year he breaks out? After I don't think so. I don't think you just break out like that. But with this offense, you got to understand they're throwing the ball.
He was on the Jets. He was on the Jets before, so there's a chance he could break out.
I know the Jets are terrible, and I mean, I got my things to say about the Jets. They're terrible. Adam Gase should, he should be on the unemployment line with the rest of them.
We'll get to the Jets here, but I think Robbie you could have a good year, but he is a kind of a boom busty guy. And then going back to Ronald Jones real quick, sorry to interrupt. He had 17 attempts, 66 yards, 3.9 yards per carry. Fournette only 5 attempts, 5 yards, 1 yard per carry. Yeah, man, their running game just wasn't going. Ronald Jones is probably not the solution. I think Fournette is a better option. I'm going to be interested to see when and by what week does Leonard Fournette take over that committee.
I think it's going to be sooner than later, but the problem is Brady's a type of quarterback where you need that offense. He calls audibles. He called some audibles during the game that I saw. He turned some passes into runs. So you can't just go out there and wing it. And Fournette, I don't know his football IQ. I never heard anything about it. I don't know that. Been in the same offense for a few years in a terrible Jacksonville organization. I don't know, but hopefully he can pick it up. I don't think they need him so much moving forward, but I think it'll be better against the elite team to have a solid running game. But they looked good at times, but you can tell they were rusty, and let's see what they bring out week 2. It's 8 points is a lot. That's a lot of points. That's a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Carolina
over. I take the over 48.5.
Right. Okay, let's move on here. This is a battle of our favorite quarterbacks. Well, not really my favorite, but the guys that we like. You like Minshew. I like Tannehill. Tannehill and Minshew both had pretty decent quarterback performances. I mean, it wasn't outstanding. Minshew had what?
20. I mean, he was 95% from the field.
Yeah, pretty good, but he had 173 yards, only 173 yards, but still managed to get 3 touchdowns. Ryan Tannehill, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, both solid performances. 1 point more for Gardner Minshew. So, yeah, Minshew is coming out as you kind of called it. I think Tannehill didn't have the greatest game. That offense was a little sluggish, but now I think they're more into the groove. It's a 1 o'clock game, and the Titans 9-point favorite. I think that's a little extreme here. You're almost tempted to take the take them to cover, not take the other team to cover, Jacksonville to cover. I mean, that's a lot of points here. Derrick Henry wasn't really going the way we wanted him. He didn't really break out for any big runs, but he was consistent. Yeah. He looked strong, pounding it in with the 31 attempts for Derrick Henry, 16 yards, 3.7 yards per carry. So, I mean, they're going to be feeding Derrick Henry all season long. Jacksonville suspect with their running backs. I mean, what's going on there? How does this matchup play out? Because with the running backs is James Robinson, who really didn't do much with 16 attempts.
He played good. He had a good first half. I mean, he had a good first half last week. Robinson.
Are they going to run with him though? Is he going to be the guy? I mean, like they just brought this guy out of nowhere. It comes out of nowhere. Like, how is he going to be the solution at running back? I don't see it.
Robinson?
Yeah, James Robinson. 5'9", 219, rookie out of Illinois State. What do we know about this guy?
He needs 16 for 62, respectable. I mean, whatever. I mean, it's not great, but he gave them what they needed. And I mean, but the more potency of Jackson's offense is the weapons they have at receiver. They got Shenault, DJ Shark. Those are 2 young guys that I think can perform well in this offense. Minshew is, listen, the name of the game is about efficiency.
Right. Yeah, go ahead. So yeah, efficiency, and I don't know if Minshew can do it.
He can do it. Listen, he's got a great offensive coordinator who's playing to his strengths. 19 for 20, 173 yards, but he threw for 3 touchdowns and he made the plays when he needed to. Ryan Tannehill put what up? 14 points on the board or something like that. Like, I know there were some missed field goals, but the name of the game is putting points on the board. I don't care how many yards you throw for, how well you play in between the 20s. Minshew, and the name of the game is to win games, as we all know, not just to put points on the board. Minshew's a winner. He's a winner. He's going to keep you in the game a lot of times. And when you're in the game within 2 minutes, he's going to give you a chance to win and bring you down the field. He's got the swagger. He's got the charisma. He's got the leadership. I think he has a lot more leadership than Tannehill. Derrick Henry's more of a leader on this team as players respect him more than Tannehill, I believe. But Minshew he's a good player. I've been saying this before. I've been saying it for a while. And I like Jacksonville to win more games than people think. And I told you that. But, with that said, the Titans, I don't know, they don't really blow teams out. I don't think they're going to. Jacksonville's defense played well. They got the rookie corner Henderson, who played phenomenal in week 1 against the Colts, has one of the best offensive lines, if not the best in football. I know they lost Marlon Mack, who's a good player early in the game, but you're right. Tennessee's going to come out and try to beat that defensive lineup, and that's where they may win this ball game. But if it's a close game, I've still got my money on Minshew over Tannehill in the fourth quarter.
All right, good call. Let's move on here. Giants and the Bears. Let me break this down for you, man. Montgomery obviously wasn't fully healthy, didn't play an amazing game last week. They squeaked out a win, man, against the Lions, but Galladay was hurt. Detroit just getting in the groove. Peterson just coming out and just joining the team recently. Giants, Bears, Saquon looked really rough. And, I mean, I attribute that to the defensive effort. The Giants just weren't playing up to par, man. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Everybody's a little bit concerned now with Saquon Barkley and that effort from last week, but the Steelers defense is legit. They completely neutralized them. So I want to get that out of the way. So Giants, Bears, Bears sitting here at a 5.5 point favorite. Mitch Trubisky, we know his job's on the line so far. He's 1 for 1. He's got to continue that. And I don't know if the Giants have found their groove, whether the running game, the receiver. Slayton's the guy that's stepping up, which is exciting to watch. But then also with the Bears, there is some drama going on. Allen Robinson saying he's disrespected, or I don't know if he's saying disrespected, but he's feeling disrespected. He's not getting paid. Tariq Cohen, not that I really care what Tariq Cohen says, but Tariq Cohen come out and said, hey, man, this guy needs to get paid, this and that. There's a lot of drama. I don't know. These teams are a bit of a mess. I think they're both trying to figure each other out, their own teams out before they play each other. But I don't know about this game. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I have a few thoughts. If you want to start with the Giants, listen, their offensive line is terrible. Barkley made a really nice catch and run. He still got the talent. This is what I tell you during the draft. With the Jets and the Giants, when you draft for need over best player available, you're going to struggle a lot of times.
Right.
You're taking, I think they took Andrew Thomas. Their line sucks. The Jets line, I told you this, they should have took CD Lamb to get a number one. We'll talk about the Jets in a second. It's evident. And they got these guys, I don't like Gettleman, the GM, and the Giants. He's probably going to be gone because this is Joe Judge's team. The Giants look terrible. I told you this before. They have no talent. Evan Ingram is a shell of what he was as a rookie. He's not a real tight end. And Daniel Jones is a good quarterback, not great.
Ingram is dropping balls.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a shell of what he was as a rookie. And the problem is Daniel Jones, is he an average quarterback, good, below? He's around there. We don't know yet. He threw some bad passes. He threw some good passes. He hit Slayton in the end zone. That was phenomenal. Barkley's their stud, but I told you this. I think it's going to be a rough year for the Giants until he changes the culture there. They played tough in the beginning, but I don't think they just don't have the talent.
Good. When Barkley got the ball in his hands and he's in open space, he looks phenomenal. But it's very hard for him to get. Dupree was all over them. He was just coming out the outside, putting pressure on Daniel Jones. It was tough, but the Steelers played tough. Are the Bears going to play like that? I don't think so. I think they're going to just make some adjustments on the O-line. I don't know, man. He's got to get the ball out of his hands quicker. Daniel Jones does now, and it's tough.
Team, like I keep telling you, there's rookie head coaches that try to come in and be a dictator, be this. It's not going to work year one. You need to get players that buy into your system. They don't even respect you enough, all the players, because you haven't won, you haven't done anything. Right. It's culture of the league. It's the culture of the players. There might be some guys like Saquon stepping up and being a captain saying, yeah, I support him, which he probably does, but you need all 53 guys to buy into the program, and it's not happening in New York. And on the other flip side, they don't have talent. This has been a horrible roster build over the last few years. The GM should be gone. It's no depth. It's nothing. They're terrible. And yeah, they'll win a couple games on guts and on glory and on having a 200-yard week 1 week, but they're not a great football team. Chicago, listen, with the Lions blew that lead. I'm still not buying Chicago. Listen, Chicago has a decent football team. They're going to be like 7 to 9 wins, right? That's what I predict them. They have a good defense. They have an ugly offense. Trubisky threw 21 points in the fourth quarter. Anthony Miller is playing better than Robinson. I said this to you, one of the shows way back when this year. Allen Robinson has had one good year in his career, maybe 2.
2014 or something like that.
A great wide receiver. He's hurt a lot. He's not great. He's not consistent. Why would you pay him? These guys just say, oh, he's going to, play your contract out. I think he's got 1 year left. Why would listen, 5 for 74. I understand who your quarterback is, but these teams are buckling. They shouldn't have paid Dalvin Cook. They should, all these guys getting paid, Kamara, which we didn't even talk about Kamara is
He is good. He is good. I think Kamara deserves.
We'll talk about that though.
We'll talk about that.
States. But David Montgomery, he played very well for limited action and limited carries. I think they need to get rid of the head coach here, and they got to win. I just don't like the team. Anthony Miller saved the game with that touchdown, though. I mean, that was a great play.
This is going to be a tough game to watch. I mean, I don't know, like who's going to come out. I think I don't know. I
mean, who wants to watch this football game?
This one's going to be a tough one. I don't know who's going to win. It's just battle of the who knows what. I mean, there's so many question marks in this entire matchup.
Yeah.
What's that?
The Bears are a better football team all around. They got better players, but I mean, the Bears are always, Trubisky looked like terrible trash. He's trash. He looked like, white trash in the beginning. He just looked terrible.
All right, let's move on here. Atlanta and Dallas. Dallas at home being a 4.5 point favorite. Atlanta on the road. And again, Matt Ryan, the thing with Matt Ryan, which I don't understand, they lost 38-25 to the Seahawks. The Seahawks looked great. Russell Wilson looked great. We won't go into recap too much there. But Ryan, I don't understand, because I've been a Ryan fantasy owner for years. You're kind of worried at the half because he puts up like 10 points in your fantasy team, but you're always like, no, I'm still going to get my 20, 25 points out of him. And again, just tears it up in the second half, puts up a lot of points, but it's always too little too late. Calvin Ridley had a phenomenal game, 12 targets, 9 receptions, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, Julio Jones, another great game, 9 targets, 75 yards. He never gets the touchdowns, but he had a good game. And then Russell Gage getting involved. Matt Ryan threw for 450 yards. I mean, but he turns it up late. I don't know what's wrong with these guys. Gurley, I don't know. He didn't have the greatest game. And we look at Dallas, they got so many weapons. They got Zeke Elliott. They got everything. And then you had that call with Jalen Ramsey with the pass to Gallup. I don't think that was a push off. Ramsey had him hooked underneath, and he had to just push his arm out. So Cowboys got screwed. Both these guys coming off some tough losses here. It's going to be an interesting one. I understand why Dallas is the favorite, being at home with the weapons and everything like that. I mean, they both got weapons. This is going to be a good game. This is a game I'll be tuning in to watch. And man, I don't. This could go either way. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it shouldn't go either way. It should go Cowboys, but anything can happen with, week 2, the Falcons. They put some points up. Seattle's an excellent team. I told you before, Atlanta has no defense, terrible defense, and that's going to hurt them. Cowboys are going to put some points up. You're right. They started late. I mean, Calvin Ridley is a break. I mean, he's a good player behind Julio Jones, who's a great player. So it's tough to, 2 very good weapons over there. Gurley, he played well for what he did. I don't know how much he can handle the workload. Who knows how healthy he is? I know he's healthy, but as far as his explosiveness and what he was, but I just don't. I think what happens in Atlanta, they get away from the run and away from the game plan, and they start to throw the ball. They have horrible offensive, game plans over there for the last couple years. Matt Ryan, they were down. They just started throwing the ball. Maybe they should have done that earlier, and maybe it would have been better results. I'm not an Atlanta fan. I don't think they have a defense to compete, but the Cowboys, listen, them and the Rams, I think they're 2 evenly matched teams. It was a great game on Sunday night. The first half was a little more exciting than the second half. I expected some more points in the second half, but the offensive pass interference call, listen, you get some, don't get some. It is what it is. It could have went either way. I'm not going to sit here and bitch and moan about it. I don't care. It wasn't horrible. You could go if it went either way, you can't argue. So I probably wouldn't have called it, but it could have went either way.
I think the Cowboys got screwed, but that's bad.
I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't it could have been called, is what I'm saying. But I agree with you. I think they shouldn't have called it if I had to make a judgment. Ezekiel Elliott got the balls, got to get the ball more. It comes down to like what I said before. I don't care who you are, how many yards you throw for. Gardner Minshew put, enough points to win the ball game. Dak Prescott didn't. That's been his struggle. He had horrible games last year against the Patriots, against the Eagles, which took them out of the playoffs. He needs to put points on the board. He's not putting enough points on the board, and it hurts them. They lost. I think they lost a couple plays. They lost one of their starting linebackers in Dallas. They had some trouble in the game, but like I said, the Rams are a good football team, and that they played a good football team in the Rams. So I'm going with it's tough because I think the Cowboys are going to have to come out and come out and control this game. And I think they control this game and with the running game in the beginning, and that's how they win this football game.
Falcons signed wide receiver Laquan Treadwell to their practice squad. Why? I mean, I don't get it.
Listen, but this year you got to remember you're allowed to have, I think, like 16 players, like a lot of players on your practice squad, and veterans are allowed to on it too. So I wouldn't look into that. I would look more into why the 49ers signed Mohamed Sanu, after the Patriots threw him to the trash heap. But that's a different story for a different game. Now,
let's keep moving along here, Tom. We got tons of matchups to go. We're not even halfway through. Detroit and Green Bay here. This one, Rodgers back to Aaron Rodgers. I told you he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder. Adams looked great. Running game, Aaron Jones looked okay. Detroit, still a bit of a mess. Hopefully Galladay's back and healthy. This could be an interesting match. I understand Packers at home, 6-point favorite. That makes total sense, but I think Detroit keeps it closer than people think. Thoughts on this one?
See, I called it last week. I think we both said Rodgers is going to come out and throw for big yards, win the ball game. Probably a letdown week 2 is what I would say. They are at home. Now, what troubles me, I always said the Lions are a good football team this year. They're a better football team than they were last year. They got Stafford back. They didn't have Galladay last week. It's surprisingly they went with Peterson, and he was efficient when he played. He couldn't get the job done in the fourth quarter enough for whatever reason. But I think he had like 16 for 92 during the game. They had DeAndre Swift drop the winning touchdown pass with 6, 7, 8 seconds left in the fourth quarter. So I'm surprised they didn't. I don't know. They signed Peterson. They must not have been sold on DeAndre Swift, or maybe Patricia wanted a veteran in there at running back. I like the Lions. I really like this football team this year, and just losing week 1 really kills the mojo there. It really does. You know what I mean? The Packers don't have a good defense, and they're going to be one of those teams that puts points up, lets points, a little bit better than the Falcons. But, to me, that's who they are this year. And the Vikings, they played the Vikings, which we'll talk about. And I think the Vikings aren't going to be as good as they were last year. So
we're going to see which teams carry that momentum moving forward. Now, if the Packers win again, they start looking for real here. Detroit needs a win. So this is a big pivotal week for a lot of teams. You either go 2-0, 0-2, and you don't want to go 0-2 at this point. So
Cowboys or Falcons are going to be 0-2.
Who's this? Falcons?
I'm just saying, we just spoke. The Cowboys or the Falcons are going to be 0-2.
Yeah.
This is what we didn't talk about. You got a guy on the hot seat in the Falcons. He's 0-2. All of a sudden, you go 0-3, 0-4. See you later. So the Bears got lucky with that win because their coach is on the hot seat. Patricia's on the hot seat with the Lions. Gase is on the hot. He's got to be on the hot seat. I mean, he's born on the hot seat over there. But when you have a coach on the hot seat and you start off 0-2, I mean, how long are they going to go until you're gone?
Yeah, exactly. So very critical games coming up. So there's going to be a sense of urgency from a lot of teams this year. And I think, the week 1 games were good, but I still think there's a lot of jitters. Even the Steelers, if you watch that game, Big Ben came out a little shaky. That offense was shaky. Yeah. Deontay fumbled the ball. Then he got into his groove because I'm a big Deontay Johnson believer this year. And it just started happening later. Just got to get the jitters out. So I think it's going to be more of an exciting, fast-paced week 2 for sure. Okay, Vikings and Colts. Obviously, the Colts, my team, looked like crap. Didn't look the greatest. Good news for a fantasy perspective, Jonathan Taylor slated as the starter now. This is the guy that I believed in. I wasn't sold on Mac. He was taking this job either way. I predicted by week 4 or 5. Turns out Mac gets hurt. Typical Marlon Mack getting hurt. We knew this was going to happen. They didn't believe in him. That's why they got Jonathan Taylor. Smart move. Now, I think Naheem Hines is and potentially could be the Austin Eckler and I want your feedback on this. Austin Eckler of this year. We saw the volume he got in the receiving game, and I think Phillip Rivers liked jumping the ball off like that. Vikings, Cook had a mediocre game. The only reason he had a good fantasy relevant game was those 2 touchdowns. I think 1 or 2 touchdowns he plugged in. Didn't look phenomenal. I think Justin Jefferson wasn't involved as much as I'd like him to. Thielen had a pinnacle game. Hilton wasn't involved back when we're talking about the Colts here. I mean, it was an okay game. I just
had a touchdown, right? In his debut.
Who was this?
Michael Pittman.
I don't know if Pittman got a touchdown. I don't think he did. I don't think he did. No. But it was Paris Campbell that was getting more of the volume there. So I don't know, man. I thought Pittman, very high draft capital on him, and he wasn't utilized to his potential. I haven't looked at. I don't think he did. I was watching like 12 games at once. I don't think he did. So see a lot of people picking up Paris Campbell off the waiver wire, but I'm not sold on Paris Campbell. He was 9 for 6, 71 yards. He had a lot of targets, showing that he is a top receiver there. I mean, he out-targeted T.Y. Hilton, so I don't know what to think about this.
Well, there's a few things to think about. If you want to start with the Colts, we start with the Colts. Listen, Marlon Mack is a good running back, 1,000-yard guy, like, a little bit better than a Carlos Hyde, but he was going to get the job. And I think his contract was up after the year. So they picked Jonathan Taylor to start next year, maybe to take over halfway through the season if he exploded, to ease him into the offense. Hines, listen, what Phillip Rivers at this stage in his career is not what he was. They cannot win games with Phillip Rivers trying to throw for 300, 350 yards. It's not going to happen. Right. They need to run the ball. They need to control the game. He needs to pick and choose his throws and make those throws on third down. He made a decent throw to T.Y. Hilton at the end of the game. T.Y. Hilton dropped the ball, but it was also excellent coverage. Now, the problem is, I think you have to look at the Indianapolis Colts are a football team that is built to win now. They have a great line on offense, great line on defense. T.Y. Hilton I think he's getting old. I don't know if he's as good as what he was. And that's part of the problem with their weapons on offense. I don't think they have enough weapons. I've been saying this from day one. They don't have a playmaker. Pittman, you're right. I think he had 2 catches for 10 yards. That was my bad. I was thinking of something else. But they don't have the weapons, I don't think, on offense. And maybe it's Campbell who steps up, but T.Y. Hilton, I don't want to say he's a shell of what he was, but he's not what he was. And
I want to get corrected. They both had 9 targets each, both Paris Campbell and T.Y. Hilton. So, yeah, split there.
That scares me. I remember we talked about it in the preseason. They don't have the weapons. T.Y. Hilton went down a little bit talent-wise, lost a step. It's like, and they don't have that playmaker to spread it. Maybe Hines is that guy from the running back position, but it's really hard for him to be that guy from there. Hines, with the checkdowns with Rivers, he's going to throw him the ball. He's going to be a favorite of Rivers. That's what it looks like. So I would put some stock into him, but I think they really need to run the ball with Taylor and start owning the game on the inside, on the interior. Minnesota, I told you, don't put any stock in rookie wide receivers. It's too much of a risk. I'm not sold on Jefferson this year. At least I'm just not sold on rookie wide receivers. He's not going to bring the table what Diggs brought to the table this year. Thielen came up, and we talked about this. He's the one guy for Cousins. He's his one. He bounces back off the injury plague 2019. He's going to have a good year. I think that's important for them. Dalvin Cook's a good running back, and he's going to play well in this offense. The offense is suited for him. They paid him. I wouldn't have. They did. I'm not buying the Vikings this year. Their defense, they lost, I think, both corners. I think they got somebody in a trade or signed, but they're not as good on defense as what they once was. And I'm still looking for the Vikings to take a step back this year, all around.
All right, let's move on here. Buffalo Bills and Miami. Let's not spend too much time on this. Josh Allen looked good. Miami, not the greatest. I'm not excited about this team. I don't want to spend too much time on this matchup. But
Buffalo's important. I think you need to talk about Buffalo for a few minutes.
Yeah, and Zach doesn't look good either.
Let me ask you. I look at Josh Allen. I see the bad things he did. He missed a wide open John Brown in the end zone. I mean, that thing sailed almost through the goalpost. He fumbled the ball twice. Lost 2 fumbles, I believe. He missed a lot of throws. I know he threw the ball for a lot of yards. He had a good rapport with Diggs. He had 2 rushing touchdowns too, I believe. But a lot of rushing yards. But you can't keep doing that. I'm still not sold on Josh Allen. They're gonna beat bad teams like they did last year. But when they play the Ravens, when they play the Patriots, I don't know if they're playing the Ravens this year, but like last year, when you play the better football teams or the teams that are really well coached,
right?
Let's see how Josh Allen performs.
Ball security issue. He fumbled.
The running game was horrible in Buffalo. Listen, you beat the Jets. They beat up bad teams. That's what they did last year. Okay. So what do you think about Josh Allen? I know you love him.
I like him. I don't know what it is that the fumbles turned me off a little bit. His ball security issues. I don't know. I like him for fantasy. He gets it done. I mean, 312 yards.
For fantasy. Okay. Yeah.
2 touchdowns.
If you're a quarterback, man, like you just can't keep doing it. There's bound to be danger. It happens.
And he was playing the Jets. That's the thing. Now he's playing Miami, a relatively easy matchup again. So when he plays the Rams, it'll be a different story in week 3. But as of right now, against Miami, I think he still has a good week. I'm 6-point favorite Buffalo. Yeah, and their running game wasn't going. Singletary, Moss just wasn't going at all.
Horrible. I mean, I think Moss had a nice little touchdown on a catch. But go to Miami for 10 seconds, and they're not worth more than 10 seconds of my time.
That's it.
Listen, they got 2 wide receivers with a good quarterback. They'd put up numbers. I love the Preston Williams kid, but I mean, Fitzpatrick's horrible. He's got to go. he's terrible. But maybe Tua is not ready right now. I don't know, because Fitzpatrick is not good, but he's bound to bounce back with a good game. That's what he does. But I just think he's terrible. The running game is terrible. I mean, their defense is not horrible. They've improved a lot on defense. I will say that, but they can't score, and they're going to have a bad offense this year unless Tua comes in and launches a miracle. That's it.
I think Parker was banged up as well. So it's a disaster there, man. I'm just not excited about this game. 49ers and Jets, 7.5 7-point favorite are the 49ers over the Jets. I think that's being generous there. 49ers should be able to smash the Jets. Jets just don't have an offense. They don't have a receiver. Crowder stepping up for these guys? Had a good game?
He had one good catch. It was a short pass, a 2-3 yard pass. He took it for like 75 yards. So let's not get ahead of ourselves.
But he led him to
I know.
13 targets, 7 receptions. And
he's not a bad player. He's a former running back, I believe, from the Redskins. But when you're looking at, listen, Le'Veon Bell got hurt. He's been hurt. He shouldn't have even played this week. He's
too busy boxing, throwing pillows out there. Like if you saw
his hamstring's been hurt, he shouldn't have played. And he just shouldn't have played. But when you have a hamstring injury, you're bound to have it lasts, it lingers. If it doesn't get healthy, you're in trouble. He's gonna miss at least a few more weeks. Did they I don't know if they put him on IR yet or what. I know
I heard he's on IR, so I'm thinking
he's gone. They changed the rules this year. You can just put guys on IR for 3 weeks because of the whatever's going on. But they don't have a running game. Frank Gore is not the answer. They don't have wide receivers. This is why I told you, Joe, draft CeeDee Lamb. Get yourself a star-studded wide receiver with the 12th pick, not an offensive tackle who's a hit or miss. I know you need a lineman, but you got a much better wide receiver. Darnold has no weapons, and people say, oh, they have no line. Their line was better than it was last year. They signed George Fant, overpaid him, cut a couple other guys on the O-line. It was better, but it's not great, okay? But it was improved. The coaching is horrible. Gase needs to go. The Niners have no wide receivers. They had injuries last week. Their rookie Ayuk from ASU. Samuel was out. He's going to be out again, I think. I think Ayuk comes back. George Kittle, he got hurt during the game, right? Sprained knee. Man, the 49ers, Jordan Reed looked like a shell of what he once was prior to the concussions, which we don't expect much from him. He had a couple good fantasy years in his life. But they got to get Mostert. It was the most, consistent guy on that offense. Garoppolo played well. I think he missed a couple throws, but they don't have the weapons on wide receiver, and it's going to hurt them. They just signed Mohamed Sanu. That's how desperate they are.
Right. It looks rough, man. It looks rough.
They're a good football team, right?
Yeah.
The Niners have a great defense, and they should come in and just pound the Jets on the ground. I love the Niners this year. I do, but they got to get healthy.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't even beat Arizona. They blew that last week, so that was a tough one.
Antonio Brown. He would fit that team like a glove.
What, 49ers?
Yes, they don't have a possession receiver to take the ball and take pressure off Kittle.
Yeah.
But, I remember a couple years ago they weren't interested when he wanted to go there. So, but he would fit that team. That's what they need. They need a one receiver. They don't have that.
They don't have that, no.
Gimmick guys like Samuel doing reverses and, come on. Shanahan – let's see. I like the guy. I mean, they got a good wide receiver coach, the great Wes Welker. Remember him?
Yeah, I remember him. New England. He was great. Great fantasy relevant. This was only a couple of years. It wasn't even that long ago.
He's the receiver coach there. So,
well, I didn't know that. Okay. LA Rams versus Eagles. I mean, Rams, Malcolm Brown taking over that committee. Like, what happened there? I mean, I thought it would be the Akers show. Akers getting slow going. Brown getting 2 touchdowns. Top waiver wire pick for week 2. Eagles, Miles Sanders. I mean, I don't know. Is he going to come back? Is he healthy? What's going on? Carson Wentz. I can't trust that guy. It's a bit of a mess here. I think the Rams are favored by 1, understandably so. I'm not really sold on the Eagles as an offense, man. I'm not.
Oh my God. Listen, we talked about this last week. First of all, you always talk about how Carson Wentz, and you were right. I got to give you credit.
It's overrated.
Overrated. Sucks.
Yeah.
Look terrible.
Wow, you said sucks. I don't hear that from you, but they lost to Washington out of all teams.
We'll talk about Washington. But, listen, Carson Wentz was horrible. He was horrible. Their offensive line was horrible. We said this before. They've lost 2. They was out 3 starting linemen, 2 for the season, and Lane Johnson. We spoke about that last week, and I told you that would hurt them. Remember? Right. And they were out there star-studded running back Miles Sanders, right? I'm not sure how star-studded he is. I think he's going to be a star. I think he's great. Listen, they lost their starting left tackle. They lost their starting guard. Jason Peters went to left tackle, who's 38, 39 years old. Lane Johnson was out. He had foot surgery 2 weeks ago. I mean, I don't even know if he's going to play this week. I'm taking the Rams, and I'm taking the Rams to destroy the Eagles. The Eagles look terrible. They have no wide receivers, and they got Jalen Reagor had one catch, 55 yards. Didn't he bobble a punt or something like that? Then they took
they looked bad, man.
That was a bad pick. Everyone said, why pick Reagor when you can pick Jefferson or Pittman or somebody else in that first round? Remember?
Yeah.
I told you this, and we talk about it every year since the Super Bowl. They've gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. I'm not buying. I'm selling Philadelphia.
Yeah, Rams should smash them. Look what they did to the Cowboys. I mean, they're just going to smash them this week. I don't have any. That's one of my locks of the week for sure. The Rams. All right, let's move on here.
What about the Rams, though? You said, did you like their performance? Did you like Goff to Woods?
That was a good connection. Yeah, I mean, Woods is a reliable receiver. Van Jefferson made a nice catch. Rookie Van Jefferson. He was getting a lot of raves and reviews in training camp. I was hearing he looked really good. Cam Akers, I want to see more out of Cam Akers. I don't know if I'm going to see Malcolm Brown. You know, he's been on the team for years. He hasn't wowed us. Now all of a sudden he's emerging. Like I'm not sold on that. I think Cam Akers is going to take that job.
It just shows you don't need a highly paid running back. You don't need a great running back just to put up 1,000 yards. You need somebody good enough, like a Carlos Hyde. I always use that example from last year.
Chiefs proved it with Damian Williams last year. Damian Williams sucks. I don't think he's good at all, and yet they won the Super Bowl with Damian Williams. So yeah, that proves it, man. You don't really need it. All right, let's move on to the Broncos and Steelers, man. Steelers 7-point favorite here. Defense was phenomenal last week, and I think they should be able to smash the Broncos. Young rookie quarterback, Drew Lock. I don't know, man. Even if Sutton comes back, I think the Steelers take it to Drew Lock in his second week.
I think the Steelers defense, like we spoke about before, last year was the first year they finally had a good defense after having a good offense for, the previous 5 years. The Broncos are a good football team. I wouldn't discount them yet. Yes, they did miss Sutton. They missed him a lot. Judy played. He played okay. I think he had a big drop.
I think he had a couple drops.
Yeah, I think it's high. 7 points is high for this game. I would take the points, but I mean, the Steelers defense is phenomenal. They've been playing well. They lost James Conner. They're not missing a beat. Snell came in. He might be better than Conner.
Yeah.
I thought I don't know what happened to the rookie McFarland out of Maryland. They gave the shot to Snell. He took it. He's probably going to stay in that role. Steelers are a loyal organization, though. When Conner comes back, I can see them giving him the job back. I don't know how long he's going to be hurt for, but I think Snell gets the job this week. Listen, they have a lot of weapons, which you don't like to hear. And I'm gonna give you some bad news.
Yeah.
I know you love Deontay Johnson, and I think he's a good player, but there's a lot of football to go around there.
There is a lot of target. Claypool had an amazing catch in there.
You got Vance McDonald, Claypool. We talked about that from the beginning. But you have all these guys going to catch 2 or 3 or 4 balls, and I don't think there's enough to get a guy like 10 to 12 catches a game like the old Steelers used to do.
I was seeing Washington out there too much for my liking. I don't think he's good at all, and he was getting out there. I didn't like that.
Bad. He's not a bad player. It's year 3. He's breaking out a little bit. Juju's not a star, but this is what we said. This is how he's going to be a good wide receiver too in fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Get in the open target when they spread the ball around. Be in that one-on-one coverage. We've been saying that for weeks. We've been saying that for weeks that he's a good pickup in fantasy because he's finally going to have some separation and getting one-on-one coverage.
Yeah, he had a good game, man. 6 for 6, 100 targets, 2 touchdowns. Is that going to continue? Like, is he that good, though? I don't even know if he's that good.
He's that good because he's got weapons around him. When he had nobody around him and an inferior quarterback, he had the duck throwing him the ball last year.
Yeah.
Rudolph. Ben came back and did not look phenomenal, but he did not need to be. He needed to be efficient. He needed to be like, this is what Phillip Rivers needed to do. Pick and choose your spots.
Yeah.
Right? Roethlisberger played the game to perfection. I loved it. He played a great football game. He's getting smarter as he gets older into the league, and he played well.
Yeah, it was a really good game.
Played well. I know you don't. Drew Lock is good. I don't know why you don't like him. He's a good quarterback.
No, I like him. I don't know, a sleeper. I think he's got a ton of upside. I just think they got to get into the groove.
I think so, but you know who I don't like is Melvin Gordon. overpaid. I just don't like the guy. I've never liked.
He fumbled the ball, and then Lindsey got hurt, and then he became the guy. And he had a couple good runs after that fumble, though.
They played a tough Tennessee team who was in the playoffs, and they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot this year. They're going to be at that level again. And now they play another team who fought for a playoff spot last year, I think they were like finished 8-8 last year. Remember, there's 7 playoff teams this year. I think it's 7, right? So you have to understand these are good football teams battling. And there's a lot of parity this year, and a lot of teams that are pretty much, there's not a lot of great football teams this year. There's the Chiefs, but then under the Chiefs, there's just a lot of teams that are going to be in dogfights. And but we got to see if if anybody can separate themselves and go. There's no number 2 seed with a bye this year, but there's going to be a seed. So is Pittsburgh the team to separate, or are the Patriots, who we haven't even spoke about yet, the team to separate themselves from the rest of the pack and kind of put themselves underneath the Chiefs? We don't know yet. And that's to me, that's the team, the tier 2 teams.
I'm looking at that right now, and there hasn't, like, based on week 1 performance, the only teams that I see separating themselves, maybe the Seahawks.
Well, no, I'm talking AFC. I'm sorry.
I was thinking as a whole.
AFC.
I was thinking as a whole. Okay, as a whole, I don't think there's any teams.
Like, the Ravens.
Maybe Vegas. I mean, that's a long shot. You never know.
Like the Raiders. I mean, I like Jacobs. I think Ruggs played good. I think they need another weapon there. But I mean, you have the Chiefs, then you have the Ravens, right? Right now.
Yeah.
Who's going to step up? Is it the Steelers?
Maybe Bucks. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, AFC.
I'm just thinking whole league. I just think a whole league. Let's move on. Here.
After last week.
Washington football team versus Arizona. Arizona 7-point favorite at home. Washington coming off a win. I mean, I was like, wow, Washington won. I mean, but again, we talked about it. They beat the Eagles. Not much of a feat based on Carson Wentz's performance. But this is going to be an interesting one. Is Arizona going to prove that they're real? And yeah, man, I don't know. They squeaked one out last week. Is it going to continue this week? I think it should with Washington. Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing about Washington, and I said it when I had another show last week. They are not a good football team, but they will play hard for Ron Rivera, and that's what you can ask for. You see how Ron Rivera goes in to change the culture, and you see how Joe Judge goes in to change the culture. Rivera's made it to a Super Bowl. He's a good football coach. He comes in and gets respect from the players and does it a different way rather than start practice, do push-ups, run the laps. He's doing it a different way. They will play hard for him. And they have a decent defense. They have a decent D-line. They got the young Chase Young. They got Kerrigan. They got some good players.
Right.
But they're not a good football team all around, especially on offense. Haskins, here's my thing. You don't like him for fantasy. I don't either. But he's not a good quarterback, but he's going to play hard, and the players respect him as a leader. And just because of that, kind of like Minshew, but Minshew's superior to him as a player and skill set. But you're going to win football games when you can build the chemistry and have the players around you. And you're going to have a guy like Haskins win a few games because of that. And I listen, I respect that. And he's going to be efficient sometimes, but he's not going to light up the scoreboard.
No. I mean, what, he had one touchdown. He was 17 to 31. Nothing to get excited.
They play hard. How'd they do at running back last week?
I don't know, man. Gibson was a big letdown. Now everyone went crazy on the waiver wire with Gibson. Oh, I got to get Gibson. It's that. I'm like, no, man, chill out. Peyton Barber. I mean, this guy is so. I want to curse here, but I don't want to for the algorithm. But Peyton Barber is so bad, man. He's terrible. 17 attempts, 29 yards, 1.7 yard per carry. But they were giving him the goal line work. He got those 2 touchdowns, which inflated his numbers. Man. He's so bad. He's just a terrible terrible player.
Oh, he's not a terrible person, but yeah.
Not person, player.
But listen, Washington's going to claw their way to a few victories, and they beat Philadelphia, handed them that game. They were up 17-0. Listen, I'm giving Washington football all the credit in the world for coming back and winning that game, but they're going to win games on guts and glory and playing hard for Ron Rivera. The guy took an IV at the halftime. They see what the coach is actually going out there, getting IVs at halftime to coach the second half. They see the example, they see the respect, and they respect him. They're going to play hard. Arizona, I'm not a fan. Unfortunately, they'll probably go 2-0. I don't think they're a football team. I mean, I was devastated when the 49ers lost to them. Kyler Murray didn't look good. He did not. And I told I know you're upset. DeAndre Hopkins caught like 15 passes.
Yeah.
And I told you he's going to get the ball there. Kenyon Drake, what happened to your man Kenyon Drake?
Didn't have a good game, man. It was an okay game.
I know you don't like him.
I don't like him. No, I don't. I don't like him at all.
Because he's not what? He's not good.
No, he's not. Years to us were not wow, but he did have 16 attempts, 60 yards, 3.8 yards per carry, and a touchdown, which gave him 14 points.
But he's not 3.8 yards a carry. He's not a great running back. He's going to get the ball in a default now. But I don't think they're going to be a good football team there. I think Hopkins is going to get the majority of the targets. I think so. I'm not loving Arizona. I'm still not a buyer. I still don't buy Kyler Murray. He didn't look impressive. How Lamar came in year 2 and just wowed it.
Yeah.
He didn't look impressive to me. And they should have lost this football game. And granted, on the road in San Francisco, no crowd noise. I get that. I got to give them credit where credit's due. They won the football game, and they'll probably go 2-0. But sooner or later, they'll even out in their schedule.
1 touchdown, 1 interception for Kyler. He still put up 26 points because he gets a lot of yards on the ground, including a rushing touchdown. That's where he gets his points, is the rushing.
That's not good, Joe. You can't do that if you're a quarterback. I wish I added it up. There was at least 5 quarterbacks that led their teams in rushing last week. At least 4. I think there was over 5. You had Lamar Jackson. You had a bunch.
Kyler had 91. Newton had 75. Josh Allen, Burrow, and Lamar all rushing.
That's 5. All quarterbacks leading their team in rushing.
I don't know if they led in rushing, but
at least 4 of those guys did. I don't know about Burrow didn't, Mixon did, but there was at least 4 or 5 quarterbacks that led their teams in rushing, and that is not good. That's not good.
No, it's not. No, Cam Newton didn't outrush. Who did Cam Newton? New England. Let me pull that up.
We didn't talk about New England yet, but
37. Yeah, Sony Michel only had 37 yards. That was their top rusher. So Cam Newton was the number 1 rusher.
Jackson was too, man. Who we're talking about in the next game. I don't like it. I don't like when quarterbacks lead the team in rushing. It's just bound for. Not only are you bound for injuries, not only are you bound for fumbles,
no balance,
but you're bound for a good coach to come in and beat the shit out of you. A Bill Belichick comes in. He's not going to let that happen.
No.
He's not going to let that happen. And San Fran has a good defensive coaching staff, but they bombed that game. They blew that game. They should have won.
Are the Texans in trouble this week? They're playing the Ravens at 4.
They're in trouble.
They're at home against the Ravens, but is it going to be that bad? David Johnson looked good. Are the receivers going to show up? Will Fuller, Cooks? Or is Baltimore going to run over them with Mark Andrews and the tight end getting 2 to 3 touchdowns again? Lamar.
Good.
This is going to be, but I don't want to count out Watson. I think he's a great quarterback. I don't think he's great, but I think he's really good.
You figure they come back and win this week, right?
I think they can come back strong. I think they're going to fight this week.
But I think this is a big game to see how good Baltimore really is.
Yes.
What happened when they played Cleveland? Are they going to come out and win by 2 touchdowns here? Is Lamar Jackson going to come and score 3 touchdowns again? What's going to happen? I think David John. How good is Baltimore's defense? Mark Andrews is excellent. I still think. I know Marquise Brown played well, but he did well week 1 last year. I'm still not sold. I think Baltimore needs a better wide receiver, go-to guy. The problem with them this year, Dobbins, what he had 2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, Dobbins looked good.
I told you this before, and you agreed with me. Mark Ingram is not that good anymore.
No.
What do you have? 10 yards, 20 yards, 10 carries. He played horrible.
Yeah,
they're going to have to go away from him. I know he's a leader on that team in the clubhouse or whatever you call it, the locker room.
Clubhouse. What is this? Tennis? Golf?
But I'm not sold on the running game yet in Baltimore. I think Dobbins is going to end up getting a bulk of the opportunities there. I don't know, but when you got Lamar Jackson playing at an all-pro level, until he doesn't, I can't argue. Am I sold on him playing at that level every week? Not yet, but I don't think Ingram is good enough. Remember, he wore off during the year last year, and that's important to notice because Houston's not a great football team, but they're a good football team. They really need this win. This is what you said, for them to start 0-2.
Yeah.
It's going to be terrible, right? Look at this division. You got Jacksonville at 1-0. You got Tennessee at 1-0. You got Houston and Indy at 0-1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in the NFC East, you got Washington in the lead in the division at 1-0.
Yeah.
And they're playing Arizona, a winnable game. I mean, well, 16 games. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. What do you think about Brandon Cooks?
I don't know, man. He didn't really look like the one there. I don't know. He looked kind of like they looked off. I don't know what to say. Fuller looked like he was in good shape. He looked like he was the guy. I think they got to get Cobb involved. I think he caught a couple of passes, looked good when he did catch them. So if they get Cobb involved more, again, Cobb is not exciting either. Years to wow us, he's been falling off, right? He hasn't been good since what? His days in Green Bay. I think he was on Green Bay so long ago. Like
good season in his career. Anyways, who do you got in that game?
I think Houston's got to cover this game. If they want to be any successful, if they want to win, they got to run the ball. They got to throw the ball. They got to play hard. Houston's got to come back and win this game.
Who's the key to that game? J.J. Watt against Lamar Jackson?
Who's what?
The key. J.J. Watt getting some sacks.
Lamar. He's got to stop Lamar.
Man, he's getting paid a lot of money. I think you need him. I think you need him to. He needs to step up.
Yeah, he has to. All right, let's move on. This is like let's not spend too much time on this. Chiefs versus Chargers, 9-point favorite. Chiefs. This should be a blowout. I don't see how the Chargers stay in this game at all. Tyrod Taylor is not the solution. Come on, man.
Terrible. He's terrible. He should be a quarterback in the NFL. I think the Chiefs win by 25 points. I mean, the Chargers have a decent defense, okay, but Tyrod Taylor's not going to put up enough points to win this ball game.
No.
I mean, what else am I going to say? I mean, they got Bosa. They got a decent defense. I mean, KC should come out on fire. I mean, they should win the game by 50.
And Eckler, I mean, everyone's talking about Austin.
He was okay.
What do you mean? He had like one target. I mean, his success was predicated on receptions. He had one reception. This is a guy that everybody drafted at the end of the second round thinking Austin Eckler is going to be the solution. Guess who beat him? Joshua Kelly, a guy that I got in my sleeper in my league. So I'm not sold, man. Austin Eckler, I mean, what do you have? 19 attempts. He got the attempts, but he can't do much with them because he's not a running back. Like he's not a
but he's on the Chargers, so I would never have taken him that high just on that alone.
9.7 points, one target, one reception. So that kind of indicates how much Tyrod is going to be throwing to him. I'm not.
Oh, Tyrod, no. Justin Herbert, if he comes in, no. You're right. I mean,
Naheem Hines will beat Austin Eckler in fantasy points. I'm going to put that on my Instagram.
Their number one player, the tight end, right?
Yeah.
No, it's Chargers are terrible. I know Anthony Lanny's a good guy, good coach on defense, but how do you start the season with Tyrod Taylor?
I don't know. All they got is Hunter Henry, man. 8 targets, 5 receptions. That's the only guy that did anything.
And it's just they got 2 good wide receivers too. Mike Williams is okay, and Keenan Allen obviously is a good player.
Stay healthy. They can't stay healthy. These guys.
They're healthy now. And you don't start the season with Tyrod Taylor if you want to have a chance to win. I'm taking Chiefs by 1 million.
All right, there's another lock of the week, guys. All right, New England and Seattle. This is going to be an interesting one. Seattle at home. Seattle should take this, but Cam Newton, Russell Wilson. I'm excited, and it's a good 8:00 game. I think it'll be entertaining.
Big note to factor: there's not going to be Seattle's famous 12-man. There's not going to be any noise in the stand. I just don't think New England, they're going to try to beat teams up and bully teams and go after teams. I don't think they can keep playing. I mean, Cam Newton was a running back.
Yeah.
It scares me. And I think what they do, Josh McDaniels is smart. He knows he can't do that every week. I think they just wanted to muscle and bully the horrible Ryan Fitzpatrick-led Miami Dolphins. I think they come out and they make some plays throwing the ball. I think they have to. They tried to get Sony Michel going early. He was okay early, not great, but they got away from him and they just ran the ball with Cam. And that's what got their plays. Edelman made a couple nice catches, had a bad drop. I think you have to throw the ball. Seattle, man, Seattle is not a great defensive team anymore. Jamal Adams, the guy they got from the Jets, the safety, fits this team like a glove, was an excellent trade, even though they gave up a couple ones. I mean, I think it was, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 ones, but I like Seattle. I like Russell Wilson. I think they're a better team, but New England has a very good defense. At the end, I think Seattle wins by a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on here. Another good one for Monday night. Saints versus Raiders. Raiders, the underdog at home. I think this is going to be another entertaining one. I really do.
So, Raiders open in Vegas. I mean, how good is New Orleans? Drew Brees didn't play well.
No.
the turnovers help on a Saints defense and led to the win last week. Michael Thomas, he's going to
be out.
He's got a high ankle sprain. I've dealt with players. High ankle sprains usually are 4 to 6 weeks.
Yep.
Like 3 to 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks.
But he's tough. He's tough, and they're saying that he might be 3 weeks.
Receiver. He's not going to play this week. I wouldn't think he's going to play this week. I mean, maybe
Raiders.
Maybe it's not as bad. Yeah, I guess so.
To cover.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one at home. Can Carr spread the ball around? I think Jacobs. It's going to be a tough game. Breeze is going to hit some targets, but I don't know. I mean, the Saints are still a good football team. I like the Raiders too, I guess.
I mean, yeah, the running game is top notch. The old line looked good. Now, when you look at the wide receivers, Ruggs was a top target getter. They're not going to their receivers much. 5 targets. That was their number 1 receiver, Ruggs. And he was a little banged up that game. I saw him coming off in and out.
He's not one. He's not an every down guy. They don't.
Waller's the number 1 target there with 8 targets.
Yeah, Ruggs is a great player. We said he's going to have those big games and those big plays, like Deebo Samuel and those other kind of guys. But he's not a guy that can catch 10 for 100 every week. They don't. I don't think. Do they have that guy on that team?
No, they don't.
They don't, and that's what scares me about the Raiders. They don't have that. They're going to ride Josh Jacobs until the wheels fall off.
That's great, and that's why I got him in fantasy. I love it. All right, Tom, man, we went through every matchup. Week 2 fantasy football, week 2 reality football, week 2 NFL preview right here for you. Fire and Ice here every Wednesday. And Tom, I mean, I'm excited. And Bengals, Browns, Thursday, whatever, gives us something to watch. Other than that, guys, I'm excited for the week, especially the Sunday and Monday night, Tom. Those are going to be good ones.
Yeah, I think so. I think those are excellent football games, much better than the Thursday night Battle of Ohio.
Nobody cares. Maybe except for LeBron. I think LeBron James will be watching that game.
I'll put it on. I mean, let's see. I think Cleveland takes it.
All right. Thanks, Tom. We're out, guys. We're out.